Welcome back. I'm back. You're back. Hey, we back. Welcome everyone's episode of the Ultimate Sports TV, guys. We saw an incredible game from the Lakers and the Warriors, and it definitely lived up to the hype that we all gave it pregame. We saw some Warriors players step up, and we saw some Lakers players step up as they had a resurgence in the second half to come back from a deficit that they had in the first half, guys. This was an incredible game. We saw an incredible shot from LeBron and an incredible duel from LeBron and Steph Curry, but there is one key takeaway you got to take away from this game, and that's on the Lakers side of things. We have to see the Lakers gel, and they still have to gel as we enter the playoffs, and they will play the Phoenix Suns in the first round, guys. Before I tell you how the Lakers will gel and if they will gel enough in time to beat the Suns, I'm going to make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Sports TV. Because if you are not subscribed, you're missing out on so much, people. This is the hot spot. Get lots and lots of hot from the Ultimate Sports TV spot with NBA and NFL content. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and join the 2HTV squad. Then when you're done with that, please like this video for me, share this video and YouTube channel. Then comment down below if you think the Lakers will be fine going into their series with the Phoenix Suns, and if you think they still have some work to do before they enter that series, down in the comment section below, guys. But the Lakers have to gel, and here's why, and here's the things they have to get better at if they want to go back to the now. While the Lakers do look vulnerable right now and do need to mesh as a team, this is not something I think will hobble them as they try and make their way back to the finals. They have LeBron James, they have Anthony Davis, they have two great leaders along with other depth and talent on their team, so I think they'll be just fine, and I think all of these things will get better towards the end of the playoffs and even in the middle of it. Let's say in the middle of the Phoenix Suns series, I think they'll be just fine, and I think they'll make their way back to the NBA Finals. But this team does need to mesh. There's three problems I have with the Lakers right now. It's that they're injured, it's that they need to mesh as a team and just to get better as chemistry, especially on the offensive end, and also they have a floor spacing problem with their 4 and 5 guys on that lineup. Now, injuries for the Lakers is a big problem. You still have Anthony Davis making his way back, and you still have LeBron, who was absolutely making his way back and is definitely not 100% last night. Although he did play well at the end of the game, we saw him mostly in the first half drive to the rim and really not finish on those shots that he would usually finish on. He would finish on those shots. He's physical making his way to the basket, but because he's not 100%, he was really not able to finish on those shots, and that's not regular LeBron. That's not the LeBron we are all used to seeing. So he is obviously hobbled. He is obviously injured. He says he's not going to get back to 100% in his career. If he says it, you probably have to believe it, and that's one thing that could worry you for the Lakers, knowing the best player on your team may not ever be at 100% again, knowing, hey, we need to get back to the finals and we're going to have to play the Nets, so LeBron's got to be at 100%, but he's not going to be. While injuries are a concern, they go to another concern because guys on this team have missed games. We know Anthony Davis has missed a lot of games during this season. LeBron has missed games down the stretch in the season where it's really important to get momentum going in the playoffs. Dennis Schroeder has missed some games. Montrezl Harrell has missed some games. Alex Caruso has even missed some games. So we have a lot of key guys with talent and really important pieces to this Lakers roster that have missed some games, and you really need to mesh as a team to get better, especially on the offensive end, because in the first half they looked atrocious on the offensive end last night. But the Lakers definitely need to mesh as a team, knowing that, hey, some of your star players miss games, and players on your bench that added depth to your team, which you really needed last year, have missed games. So the Lakers are going to need to mesh, and the injuries that happened to their team this year really don't help that case as they're trying to really build up their chemistry at the right time, and they didn't do that going into the playoffs because they had injuries. As we head into the playoffs, another thing that concerns me about the Lakers is really their floor spacing. It's another thing that really involves with meshing as a team and knowing how to work together at this point in the season as we go into the playoffs, and this is a time where you really need to get momentum as a team. The Lakers really need to work on their floor spacing. In the first half, when you mainly had Andre Drummond and Anthony Davis out there on the court, they were not really able to space the floor for some reason. I did not like how Andre Drummond and Anthony Davis were able to coexist on the court because they were just not able to spread the floor. That created some offensive disadvantages for the Lakers when they were on the court versus a good defensive team last night versus the Warriors. So they really need to work on spacing the floor when Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond were out there, because especially when Anthony Davis was just out there by himself at the 5 position at center, he was doing well not having Andre Drummond in the lineup. When you have two players and they can't coexist on the court at the same time, it because they can't space the floor, that's one thing to worry for about the Lakers. But when you go against teams like the Nets, who don't really have guys that can really defend Andre Drummond or Anthony Davis because they're too small and don't play defense. When you have that, you want to be able to work well together as two power forwards and centers on the same team, trying to be good on the offensive end. So if they can't fix that, that's a real concern. But will they fix it? I think they can. But I still have concerns about the Lakers right now as we enter the first round. When we look at all the Lakers' problems right now, they could add up to some struggles versus the Suns, just because the Suns are a good team and they can take advantage of what you don't do well. When you're the Lakers and you don't do well spacing the floor with Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond, you have a guy on the Suns named DeAndre Ayton who can take advantage of that on defense, and then you have a Suns offense who can do well on that end of the ball and can really score some points. And when you're the Lakers, you're going to need to fire back. Although you are a good defense and can hold the Suns to a few points, you're still going to need to score the ball. And if LeBron can't be healthy enough to really have an impact in this Lakers offense, can't really gel enough to have an impact on the offensive end, I don't think it'll look pretty for the Lakers. But I do ultimately think everything will get fixed. Although they do have struggles and I think it'll push this game to 7 games, I do think the Lakers will win because they are talented. They have a good leader in LeBron and Anthony Davis. They have those stars, and I think the Suns are relatively young, don't have enough experience to go up with the defending champs in the Los Angeles Lakers. Although the Lakers do have problems, they have enough leaders and talented players to figure all of that stuff out. I think they will win the first round versus the Suns because they have good leaders and have good talent. Ladies and gentlemen, I also do think that the Lakers will make it back to the NBA Finals. Yes, we see all these struggles, but like I said of their matchup with the Suns, they have enough talented players and they have enough leaders like LeBron to really get back to the finals and get back where they need to be to really be good in these NBA playoffs right here. All of LeBron's teams always figure a way out to be great in the end. They always figure out their problems, and I don't see why this time is going to be different, especially because they have the talent that they do on their team. So the Lakers are going to make it back to the finals because they have good leaders. They're a resilient team, and they're a team with reliable players that are talented. When you're the Lakers and you see guys like Alex Caruso come off your bench and play well on the offensive end and play well on defense versus Steph Curry on the defensive end, that really gives the Lakers some hope because it says, hey, we've got some good players on the bench that can come out night after night and do well. They still have Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They still have their big four of LeBron, Anthony Davis, Andre Drummond, and Dennis Schroeder. They still have Kyle Kuzma, who can be good from time to time, and they still have Wesley Matthews and Montrezl Harrell. Let's just not forget it. Wesley Matthews played a big part at the end of the Lakers versus Warriors game. He was a great 3-and-D player to come and rescue the Lakers to give them some momentum to try and win this game. So Wesley Matthews, a veteran who also plays a big part in what the Lakers can do this year. This team has a lot of depth, and they have the star players to get over the hump they need to get back to the finals. Now, will they win the finals? That's another story to be told another day. I think it'll be Lakers versus Nets, and the one thing I think the Lakers really have over the Nets is that size. They have Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond, and the Nets do not deal with size well. They could not really deal with Joel Embiid. They cannot really deal with Giannis Antetokounmpo. They cannot really deal with bigs all that well because they don't have size and because they don't really play defense. When you're the Lakers and you have LeBron who can stroll into the paint, when you have Anthony Davis and Andre Drummond and Montrezl Harrell who can do well from the inside in the paint, that's a big worry for the Nets right there. Now, the Nets have a lot of star power with James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant. That's a story for another day. I think the final series would be close. Hey, but I do think the Nets might win the series, guys. But that's it for me. This is Malik Hicks, aka the Rankers Ultimate Sports TV, signing off. Comment down below if you think the Lakers will gel by the finals or whatever. Peace out, and I'll see you on my next one.